ASUS Zephyrus G16 is the thinnest and lightest 16-inch gaming laptop I've ever tested. It's got a beautiful OLED screen, epic battery life, and more power than ever this year with the latest CPU and GPU options. But the trade-offs are real. The G16 comes with some big compromises that you need to know about before buying. The G16 is available in Platinum White or Eclipse Grey, which is what I've got here. Its CNC aluminum chassis gives it a solid premium feel, with very little flex to the keyboard or lid compared to most other gaming laptops. The lid sticks out slightly, making it very easy to open, and the screen goes back a reasonable amount. I didn't notice any problems with the hinges, even when pushing the screen back too far and ripping the lid open way too fast. But there was a small amount of screen wobble when using the laptop. It does a good job of hiding fingerprints, and they're easy to clean with a microfiber cloth. The G16 comes in two different sizes. The chassis with 5070 Ti or above graphics that I've got is 1mm thicker compared to the 5070 and below model. It's an extremely small difference, and my thicker model still feels very portable. My laptop by itself weighs in at 4.2 pounds or 1.9 kilos, increasing to 5.9 pounds or 2.7 kilos with the 240 watt charger included, so it weighs 5% more compared to last year's G16, but that one had lower specs too. I suspect if I had the slightly thinner 5070 model, they'd be much the same. In any case, it's still one of the lightest 16-inch gaming laptops we've ever tested. ASUS are only competing with themselves here. That said, it moves down a couple of positions with the 240 watt charger included. It basically weighs the same as Lenovo's Legion 7i, but that laptop maxes out with the lower tier 5070 graphics. Along with Nvidia's RTX 5070 Ti laptop graphics, my configuration has Intel's Core Ultra 9 285H processor, 32 gigs of RAM, and a 16-inch OLED screen. But there are a lot of different options available, including AMD CPUs, with the link below. And if it has a good sale, we'll list it on our gaminglaptop.deals website so you can save money. Link below. The chiclet keyboard has one zone of RGB backlighting, and all zones and secondary functions get lit up. I'm not sure how a premium laptop like this still doesn't have per key lighting, but here we are. Key brightness can be adjusted between 3 levels or turned off with the F2 and F3 shortcuts, while the F4 Aura key can be used to change between the limited number of effects. You can customize the 4 effects a bit in the lighting tab of ASUS's included Armoury Crate software, which is the control panel for the laptop. Just like last gen, there's also the light bar on the lid, which they call slash lighting. And there are some customizations you could make through the software, though not many, as there's only so much you can do with a strip of white lights. I think the notification setting is most useful, or you can turn it off if you'd prefer a stealthier look. The keyboard has 1.7mm of key travel and feels nice to type with. I just wish the tiny arrow keys were bigger. The touchpad is massive and feels accurate to click with, but it didn't feel as good as the smaller G14. Our G16 touchpad felt loose and moved quite a bit, making it feel like there are 2 levels of clicking, but not sure if this is just our model. There are front-facing speakers on either side of the keyboard, and some underneath towards the front on the left and right sides. I thought they sounded amazing, just like last gen. Easily the best speakers on a gaming laptop right now, as they're clear with some bass and no wrist rest vibration. Even the Latencymon results were good in our 5-minute idle test. The G16 plays this sound by default on boot. Fortunately, you can disable it in the Armoury Crate software or BIOS. Port selection is decent. I like that we've got a USB Type-A and C port on either side, especially as both Type-C ports can be used to charge the laptop. The ports are towards the back, so there's less chance that cables will get in your way, and no side exhausts means no hot air blasting your hands. The display outputs offer a fair mix for connecting to discrete or integrated graphics. Connecting to the GPU provides VR support and better FPS in games, but connecting to the iGPU for lighter tasks means quite a fence. Getting inside requires removing 11 TR6 screws of 3 different lengths, so keep track of them. 2 of them at the back are covered by rubber covers for some reason, but they're easy to pull off, and the front screw on the right corner doesn't come out of the panel and helps lift it up for opening. I still needed pry tools to get inside, but it was easy to open. I'll leave a link to these tools I use below. Once inside, we've got the battery down the front, 2 PCIe Gen 4 M.2 storage slots, with the right one containing the installed SSD, and a Wi-Fi 7 card in between. RAM is on board and can never be upgraded, so you'll have to buy with that in mind. But at least a trade-off is faster memory speeds. It is available with up to 64 gigs, but so far I've only seen that available with the RTX 5080 or 5090 versions. Wi-Fi performance was great, similar to other Intel-based options, and significantly faster compared to last year's AMD-based G16, which used a MediaTek card, or the Intel version, which only supported the older 6E standard. Speeds from the installed 2TB PCIe Gen 4 SSD were good, and the SD card slot was fast, basically maxing out my V90 card. The card doesn't click in and sticks out a bit, so be careful not to bump it. The upgrade score is on the lower side due to the lack of RAM upgrades, and I always take off half a point for TR6 screws, as I think that just makes it unnecessarily harder for people with limited tools to access their device. Both M.2 storage slots could fit 2280 drives with chips on both sides though. The G16 is powered by a 4-cell 90Wh battery. Panel power saver is enabled by default, which automatically lowers the screen's refresh rate to 60Hz when you unplug the charger to save power. This is why the screen flashes black, and it goes back to 240Hz when you plug back in. You can enable battery care mode through the ASUS software to limit the maximum charge level to 80%, which helps improve the longevity of the battery. Or you could also enable eco mode through Armoury Crate, which disables the NVIDIA graphics and may help improve battery life if you don't need the power-hungry NVIDIA GPU. Battery life was excellent, lasting for just over 11 hours in our YouTube video playback test. But it couldn't quite catch the AMD version, which lasted 7% longer. In any case, it lasted 26% longer in the video playback test compared to last year's Intel version, and it lasted longer in gaming than both of those last-gen models, as NVIDIA's RTX 50 GPUs are meant to have new power-saving improvements. It lost 18% of its battery charge while asleep for 24 hours. But this isn't a fair comparison with the other laptops, as it depends on the size of the laptop's battery. Here's how much battery power was lost on average per hour, which is a fair comparison, and it's a fairly average result compared to the others, though the smaller G14 drained way slower. Let's check out thermals next. The RTX 5070 Ti, 5080, and 5090 models have a vapor chamber cooler covering the CPU and GPU, while the 5070 and below models use standard heat pipes but with an extra third fan. All models have thermal grizzly liquid metal on the CPU. Air comes into the fans through the keyboard and through the holes on the bottom panel, and only gets exhausted out of the back. So again, no hot air blowing on your mouse hand. ASUS's Armoury Crate software allows us to change between different performance modes, which from lowest to highest are silent, performance, turbo, and manual. Both turbo and manual modes apply this overclock to the GPU, but only manual mode lets you customize it. Manual mode also lets you customize CPU and GPU power limits, temperature limits, and it gives you some control over the fan curves. The internal temperatures are fine at idle. The rest of the results are from combined CPU and GPU stress tests, which aim to represent a worst-case full-load scenario. Temps get slightly warmer with higher performance modes, but using manual mode without changing the default fan curves results in thermal throttling on the GPU. But if you max the fans out, it can run quite cool, so there's definitely a middle ground possible with decent temps without blasting the fans at full power. I tested with the lid closed and the fans maxed out, as it was throttling already with the lid open and fans on auto. Closing the lid was slightly warmer, but not a problem with the faster fans. The ASUS software actually gives you you a warning advising that you open the lid, as the fans pull air in through the keyboard. Using a basic metal stand with the fans on auto was able to lower temps by about 5 degrees while also improving performance. And the stand helped more than using my cooling pad at 800 or 1400 RPM. Maybe I just need a different pad, because the stand is cooler, quieter, and cheaper. The CPU runs at around 35 watts of power, with the GPU maxed out at the same time. The Nvidia control panel says the 5070 Ti can boost up to 125 watts, despite ASUS's spec sheet saying 120 watts. Either way, the laptop is too thin for this to be a full-powered 140 watt GPU, but with the CPU loaded up at the same time, it maxes out at around 105 watts. We can see less power and lower clock speeds in manual with the fans on auto or with the cooling pad at 800 RPM, as both of these tests resulted in the GPU thermal throttling. Here's how an actual game performs with the different performance modes in use. I've got the native results in purple and DLSS upscaling on balanced in red to boost performance. Running with a Type-C charger was actually quite usable for once, and a little better than silent mode with the bigger 240 watt brick. Manual mode performed the best, but the quieter turbo mode wasn't far behind. The CPU can use more power in a CPU-only workload like Cinebench, where the GPU is idle. This time, the performance with the Type-C charger was a little behind silent mode with the 240 watt charger, but not by much. This is the first time we've had a laptop with Intel's 285H processor, but it's not really that different compared to last year's G16. The 285H was just 7% ahead of the 185H in multi-core, though 15% ahead in single-core. I mean, even this year's smaller G14 was a little better in multi-core, while the even smaller Z13 was further ahead. But apart from those outliers, the other laptops ahead of it are all thicker and heavier. Performance doesn't lower much when we unplug the charger and run on battery power. This year's G14 was still slightly ahead, but the gap between last year's G16s is a bit bigger now, demonstrating that the 2025 G16 loses less performance when running on battery power compared to last gen. As for keyboard temps, most laptops I test are in the low 30 degrees Celsius range on the keyboard at idle. The G16 was above this in the center, but the middle only felt a little warm. It gets warmer with the stress test running in silent mode, but the middle only feels a little warm, not uncomfortable. The higher performance mode is much the same, as the fans get louder to compensate for the higher power levels. Turbo mode isn't bad. The middle still only feels a bit warm and not uncomfortable. The back does feel hot, but you don't need to touch there. Manual mode with the fans on auto was warmer, but the GPU was thermal throttling like this, so not too surprising. It's cooler with the fans maxed out in manual mode, but the trade-off is more fan noise. The keyboard hotspot wasn't too bad, and a few degrees cooler compared to last year's version of the G16, but some of that might be due to the newer 2025 model running its fans a bit louder. Let's have a listen. The fans were only just audible when idling in silent mode, and they turned off from time to time. Fan noise is quite reasonable in turbo mode, but manual mode with the default fan profile was quieter, so not surprising it was thermal throttling due to the combination of more power and slower fans. Using the stand keeps the advantages of the quieter fans while also running cooler. The fans are louder compared to last year's G16, which would contribute to its keyboard being a little cooler, but it's still not bad compared to most other laptops tested. It doesn't look like much at just 1.5 decibels more, but that's a logarithmic scale. Sonos do a better job of telling us the real story, which is the perceived loudness is 11% higher this generation. Granted, my 2025 G16 is also higher spec too. It might have been a different story if I had the 4080 model last year. Plus, you could always drop down further to performance mode and still get decent frame rates with even lower fan noise. Or just max it out in manual mode for best performance and throw on some noise-cancelling headphones. The choice is yours. As for the screen, the G16 is using the exact same OLED panel as last gen, so it's got a super high color gamut and deep blacks from its perfect contrast. The usual benefits OLED gets us. Brightness was around 400 nits, and slightly higher with HDR, shown by the red bar, so not quite ASUS's advertised 500 nits. But that's for peak brightness, and we can only test sustained levels. It appears slightly brighter than last year's G16, but that's just the panel lottery at play. Results can vary a little even between panels that are the same model. Anyway, it's in line with most other OLED panels. Only the OLED screens Lenovo are using are consistently at 500 nits. OLED panels can suffer from burn-in long term, but ASUS have a number of OLED care options in the Armoury Crate software to help reduce the risk, and this includes pixel shift, which moves displayed pixels slightly. PWM flickering is present, which can give some people a headache after long use, but ASUS have an option to help lower flicker at lower brightness levels to reduce the effects. Otherwise, the glossy screen is something to be aware of, as it's reflective and can be annoying if you're working in a bright environment. But I found ASUS's coating far less reflective compared to other OLED laptops. Screen response time is excellent, with all transitions occurring in less than a millisecond. OLED panels are just super fast, with not much difference between them. They're significantly faster compared to any other panel type, making them great for competitive gamers. Despite having a faster CPU and GPU, this year's G16 was close to last year's model in the total system latency test. This is the amount of time between a mouse click and when a gunshot fire shows up on screen in Counter-Strike 2. It's not a bad result though, and unless you're going pro, the differences between the faster laptops won't matter much. The G16 has advanced Optimus, allowing you to automatically get better FPS in games without a reboot. It's also got the classic muck switch, but that needs a reboot, and considering it doesn't change which GPU the ports connect to, there's no real point using it. G-Sync is available with Optimus off, and Adaptive Sync is available from the integrated graphics when Optimus is on, so no screen tearing however you play. There's a 1080p camera above the screen in the middle, it has IR for Windows Hello Face Unlock, and this is how it sounds while typing on the keyboard. Alright, let's find out how well ASUS's thinner G16 with RTX 5070 Ti graphics performs in games. We've tested it with these settings. Cyberpunk 2077 was running well at 1080p ultra settings, and close to the other thinner 5070 Ti laptops we've tested that are power limited. The thicker laptops with more cooling and power were able to hit 15 to 20% higher average FPS, despite having the same GPU. It's a similar deal at 1440p, with our best 5070 Ti results so far being 15% faster. But that one's also bigger and heavier too. It's kinda crazy that the even smaller Zephyrus G14 is able to keep up with the G16. The G14 and G16 are still close in Alan Wake 2 at 1080p max settings too, though the bigger G16 has fewer dips in performance and is more stable to play on, as per its higher 1% low result. The G16 is only just under 60 FPS at 1440p, but you could of course use DLSS to change that. The 1% low from the G16 is 14% ahead of ASUS's thicker Helios Neo 16S. Meanwhile, those thicker 5070 Ti laptops have 1% lows that are close to the average FPS coming out of the G16. Black Myth Wukong was only 7% faster on the G16's 5070 Ti compared to our best 5070 result, though it's worth keeping in mind this game isn't too heavy on the VRAM, so the difference could be much bigger in other titles. The G16 with 5070 Ti has a larger 13% lead over the best 5070 at 1440p, and like the other games, it's close to the smaller G14 and Helios Neo 16S, while the bigger 5070 Ti laptops are further ahead. But the Zephyrus is still doing well for a more portable option. Performance with ray tracing on and upscaling enabled speed was decent, with 1440p running at around 60 FPS. Ray tracing is more intensive, but combining DLSS with it still often results in higher FPS compared to not using RT or DLSS. And of course, you could skip tracing those rays if you just want more FPS with DLSS. I think it's great that ASUS are at least giving us the option of RTX 5070 Ti, 5080, or even 5090 laptop GPUs. Yes, they're very expensive, but at least you've got the option of paying for more VRAM if that's something you want, instead of being limited to the 5070 with its 8 gigs of VRAM. If you don't want to, or you're not able to afford more VRAM, then you'll be looking at the 5050, 5060, or 5070 options. But those will be problematic in some modern games, depending on the game and the setting levels, when paired with the 2560 by 1600 screen, as I've shown with Steve from Hardware Unboxed in another video. This is definitely something you'll want to consider before spending your hard-earned money on a gaming laptop that you're going to keep for the next few years. Here are the 3D Mark results. Content creator results weren't too impressive, as the smaller G14 with same GPU but AMD processor was generally ahead in all tests. But despite the G16 not performing as well as thicker laptops, I'd still personally love this machine for content creation simply due to the portability, OLED screen, and fast full-sized SD card slot. The BIOS looks nice, but just like other ASUS gaming laptops, there's not actually much you can customize through here. Linux support had a few issues. Wi-Fi didn't work at all. The speakers were extremely quiet and unusable, and I wasn't able to adjust screen brightness or use the F4 Aura key to change keyboard effect. Pricing and availability will change over time, so check those links below the video for updates and to see if there are any current sales. Because if the G16 does have a good sale, we'll add it to our gaminglaptop.deals website. We update that every day to include all the best sales, so make sure that you check it out regularly to save money on your next gaming laptop with that link below. At the time of recording in early September, the Zephyrus G16 starts for $2,150 US with RTX 5070 graphics without any sales. The 5070 Ti model we've covered in this video goes for $2,630, which is very expensive. The lowest we've seen it so far was around $2,300, while the 5080 model goes for $3,050 with a little sale, and then it's $1,000 more to get the RTX 5090. Considering the RTX 5070 Ti, 5080, and 5090 laptop GPU options all have the same maximum GPU power limit, paying $1,000 more to go from the 5080 to 5090 is very difficult to recommend, unless you're either rich and willing to pay for the best, or you really need that extra VRAM for something else. So is the G16 worth paying more for? Let's summarize the good and the bad to find out. Starting with the good, the G16 is very portable without giving up too much performance compared to heavier laptops. It hits a great sweet spot. The CNC aluminum chassis feels premium, the crisp OLED screen looks fantastic, and the speakers are the best I've ever heard from a gaming laptop. Battery life is excellent and one of the longest lasting we've tested, and with the right performance mode, you can find a good mix of thermals, performance, and fan noise. Ports are laid out well with Type-C charge available on either side. There's no hot air blasting your hands, though there's no Ethernet due to the thinner design, and that leads us right into the G16's downsides. Future upgradability is poor due to soldered RAM. You do at least get 32 gigs with the 5070 Ti and above, but the 5070 and below options only seem to have 16 gigs, at least in the US. Here in Australia, there are 32 gig options with the 5070, so it seems to vary by region. CPU performance gains are only minor compared to last gen. Only one zone of keyboard lighting on a premium laptop feels like corner cutting. BIOS customization is minimal, and Linux support could be better. Powerful and portable always means more expensive. Our unit's touchpad felt loose, but that could just be us. And the fans are a bit louder than last gen, though quieter modes still deliver good performance. And the usual caveats with OLED panels apply, including PWM flicker, burn-in risk over time, and glossy screen. But ASUS does include more mitigations to reduce those than other brands. hands. Bottom line, if you want a premium, truly portable 16-inch gaming laptop with a beautiful OLED screen, solid gaming performance, excellent battery life, and the best speakers, the G16 earns its higher price tag. But if you care more about RAM upgrades, maximizing FPS per dollar, or tinkering in the BIOS, this isn't the one for you. If you want more power, customization, and upgradability at this price point, then you should check out Lenovo's Legion Pro 7 next. But if portability is your thing, then meet the final boss of small and portable over here next. ASUS's G14 is basically a smaller G16 with a 14-inch screen and AMD processor. Both of these laptops are great and highly recommended. I'll see you in one of those next.